November 26, 1939, headquarters of the Leningrad Military District, Soviet Union. Marshal Kliment Voroshilov, People's Commissar of Defense, raises his glass of vodka as maps of Finland cover the oak table. Outside, the first snow of winter falls gently on the city of Peter the Great. Inside, the warmth of Soviet power warms trusting hearts. "Comrades," Voroshilov proclaims to his assembled generals, "in 2 weeks, 3 at the most, our glorious Red Army will parade in Helsinki." General Kirill Meretskov, commander of the 7th Army and a veteran of the Spanish Civil War, laughs loudly. His medals jingle on his broad chest. "Marshal, the Finns have an army of 32,000 poorly equipped men, peasants with hunting rifles. We have 425,000 veteran soldiers, 2,514 tanks, 3,180 planes. It's like crushing an ant with a sledgehammer." Voroshilov walks over to the map, his finger tracing the 1,240-kilometer border between the two countries. "Our men fought in Poland, in Mongolia. They crushed the whites in the Civil War. They are soldiers seasoned in real combat. And against whom will they fight? Lumberjacks and farmers who have not seen war since 1918. Tank Commander Colonel Pavel Pavlov adds dismissively, "I've received intelligence reports, Comrade Marshal. The Finnish army has only 32 obsolete tanks. 32. I have more tanks in a single brigade. Their soldiers are reservists who train only a few weeks a year. They'll pit skiers against our T-28s. The room erupts in laughter. Stalin had ordered, "Solve the Finnish question quickly," and they would. Meretskov raises his glass. "A toast to the easiest victory in Soviet military history. May our veterans teach these amateurs what modern warfare is." The bowls clash. The vodka goes down burning. The trust is absolute. What they didn't know was that at that very moment, 32,000 Finnish amateurs were about to turn the snowy forests into a graveyard for 200,000 Soviet soldiers. The laughter in the warm Leningrad room would soon be replaced by the frozen screams of veterans dying in the Arctic darkness. Helsinki, Finland, October 1939. The problem on Marshal Carl Gustaf Mannerheim's desk was mathematically impossible. The Soviet Union had population 170 million, Finland 3.7 million, soldiers mobilized 1.5 million, Finland 250,000, including reservists. Tanks 6,500, Finland 32 planes, 5,000, Finland 114. Gentlemen, Mannerheim, 72, a veteran of the Tsarist army, observes his young officers, "We cannot win a conventional war. Therefore, we will not fight one." Colonel Hjalmar Silasvuo, 47, a schoolteacher turned commander, suggests, "Marshal, our men know every tree, every lake, every trail. The Russians only know their maps, and our winters—" "Yes," Mannerheim interrupts, "General Winter will be our ally. But we need more. We must turn inexperience into unpredictability, weakness into mobility." The solution was born not from military doctrine, but from desperate necessity. Every Finnish soldier would be trained in Finnish guerrilla, guerrilla finlandesa, combat skiing 30-40 km per day on impossible terrain, precision shooting. Every bullet must kill Arctic survival, fighting at 40 degrees. Motti tactics, encircle and strangle larger units. Lieutenant Simo Heiha, a 34-year-old farmer who is only 1.60 tall, raises his hand. "Sir, I'm a hunter. I know these woods. But shooting elk is different from shooting men." Mannerheim responds gravely, "Lieutenant, soon they won't be men. They'll be invaders freezing in our forests. Each one you take down will save 10 Finns." The training was brutal and improvised. Without ammunition for extensive practice, snipers trained with wooden rifles. Without fuel for vehicles, soldiers pulled loaded sleds for miles. Without enough grenades, they improvised with vodka bottles and gasoline. Captain Eero Mentila, a pre-war chemist, created a weapon that would become legendary. "Gentlemen, I present the Molotov cocktail." He holds up a bottle of amber liquid. Gasoline, tar, and a fuse. Simple, cheap, and it melts the rubber seals of Soviet tanks, suffocating the crew. Why Molotov? Someone asks. Because Molotov said they're not bombing our cities, they're just delivering bread. So we'll pay him back with cocktails to go with it. Nervous laughter. Dark humor from men who know they will die soon. But the real revolution was in the mindset. Major Paavo Talvela, an unconventional strategist, explained, "Forget front lines, forget fixed positions. We will be like the snow, everywhere and nowhere. We will attack field kitchens, cut supply lines, kill sentries. We will turn your numerical superiority into logistical vulnerability." The plan was simple and terrible. Let the Soviets advance along narrow forest roads, cut your columns into segments, motti, stacks of firewood. Destroy each isolated segment, disappear into the forest before the counterattack. "This is madness," protested General Hugo Ostermann. "We're asking farmers to defeat the army that conquered half of Poland." Mannerheim replied calmly, "We are not asking to defeat them. We are asking to make them bleed until the cost of victory is unacceptable." No one imagined that this desperate amateur strategy would turn the Winter War into the most humiliating nightmare in Soviet military history. November 30th, 1939, Soviet-Finnish border. 0630, Soviet artillery roars. 2,300 cannons fire simultaneously. The earth trembles. Ancient trees evaporate. The Red Army advances. Private Alexei Kozlov, a 28-year veteran of the Polish campaign, marches confidently with the 44th Rifle Division. Beside him, thousands of comrades sing patriotic songs. "Look at these pathetic woods," Kozlov laughs. "In 2 hours we'll be drinking coffee in some Finnish village." The first hours confirmed all expectations. Finnish positions abandoned, villages deserted, no significant resistance. General Meretskov's report at 2 p.m. Advance proceeding as planned, minimal resistance, Finns in full retreat, revised estimate, Helsinki in 10 days. But then night falls. With it, the temperature, 25 degrees, and the Finns appear. Corporal Viktor Petrov was urinating behind a tree when the bullet tore through his throat. Silent, precise. His comrades found his body frozen in a grotesque position an hour later. "Snipers!" shouted the sergeant. "Defensive formation!" But there was nothing to defend, no visible enemy, just trees, snow, and whispering death. Along the entire 1,340-kilometer front, the same story unfolded. Soviet columns, 10, 20, sometimes 50 kilometers long, crawling along narrow forest roads. And then, like ghosts, the Finns attacked. Lieutenant Simo Häyhä, now nicknamed Belaya Smert, White Death, described his first night, "I waited 17 hours in the snow, without moving, without eating, breathing through a tube so as not to create steam. Then they came, marching, singing, smoking. I killed 12 before they realized where the shots were coming from. By the time they looked, I was already 2 kilometers away." The Soviet 163rd Rifle Division reports on December 5th. Situation critical. "We have lost contact with 3 regiments. Invisible snipers have eliminated all officers above the rank of captain. Men refuse to leave their tents. Morale is collapsing." But the worst was yet to come. At Suomussalmi, the 44th Division, proud veterans of Ukraine, 25,000 men with 140 tanks, was advancing confidently when the explosions began. Downed trees blocked the road in front and behind. The 25-kilometer column was stuck. General Alexei Vinogradov radiated in despair. "Under attack by superior forces, request immediate reinforcement." Superior forces. There were 4,000 Finns. Peasants on skis. Estradarate, Suomussalmi, January 7, 1940. Colonel Silasvuo observes the trapped Soviet column through binoculars. 25 kilometers of men, vehicles and tanks. A metal snake frozen in the snow. "How many are there?" asks his aide. "Many, but look, They can't maneuver, they can't turn, they can only die. Another Motti tactic in action, cutting the enemy into digestible pieces. At 2 a.m., temperatures of 43 degrees, the Finns attack. Not head-on, that would be suicide. Laterally, at dozens of points, simultaneously. Ghost skiers emerge from the forest. Molotov cocktails fly. T-28 tanks turn into furnaces. Crews scream as they burn or freeze. There's no middle ground in this Arctic hell. Private Kozlov, the same one who had laughed at the pathetic woods, now huddled with other survivors around a pathetic fire, writes with frozen fingers, "Little mother, we are dying. Not from bullets, but from cold and fear. They come at night, they kill the sentries. They slit throats, they leave the bodies for us to find. Yesterday I found Dmitri frozen to his feet, still holding his rifle. The Finns had placed a cigarette in his dead mouth. We are fighting demons, not men." But the true genius lay in its brutal simplicity. Corporal Antti Rokka, a 32-year-old lumberjack, explained after the war, "We were no better soldiers. We were just men defending our homes. Every Soviet dead meant another day of freedom. Every tank destroyed, a village saved. They fought for Stalin, we fought for our families." The mathematics of the killing were relentless. Soviets on the Raete Road, 25,000 Finnish attackers, 4,000 Soviet dead, 17,500 Finnish dead, 250. General Vinogradov abandoned his troops, fleeing on foot through the forest. He was executed for cowardice a week later. But the ultimate symbol of the turnaround was Simo Häyhä. In 100 days of fighting, 542 confirmed rifle deaths, over 200 per submachine gun, never used a telescopic sight, reflects light. I put snow in my mouth to avoid creating steam. He was hit in the face in March, but survived. The Soviets tried everything, counter-snipers, targeted artillery, airstrikes. Nothing worked. Häyhä was a ghost with a rifle. February 1940, Ladoga Forest, Karelia. The terror now had a name, Motti Matti, death by siege. Major Ivan Frolov, commanding the remnants of the 18th Division, 8,000 men surrounded for 3 weeks, radioed Moscow. Desperate situation. We ate the horses, then the dogs. Now we boil leather belts. Finns refuse to surrender or attack. They just watch. They wait. Sometimes they play music. Yesterday they played funeral marches all night. Men go mad. Suicides are on the rise. Please save us. No help came. 8,000 entered the forest. 123 came out alive, most without fingers or ears. The price of freezing. The numbers were incomprehensible to Moscow. Casualties up to February 1940. Soviets, 200,000 dead, 400,000 wounded frozen Finns, 25,000 dead, 44,000 injured. Loss ratio, 8-1 in favor of Finland. Stalin, furious, summoned Voroshilov. "You said 2 weeks. It's 3 months and we're being humiliated by lumberjacks." Voroshilov, pale, tried to explain. "Comrade Stalin, this is not conventional warfare. It's something more. They don't fight like soldiers. They fight like wolves. They attack, they kill, they disappear. Our tanks get stuck in the snow. Our planes see nothing under the trees. Our men, what?" Stalin growled. "Our men are afraid, comrade. Afraid of the dark, afraid of the forest, afraid of the Finns." Sergeant Boris Yeltsin, not the future president, wrote before he froze to death, "I haven't slept in 6 days. Every time I close my eyes, I see the white sniper. They say he's not human. That the Finns made a pact with forest spirits. Yesterday, 20 men went looking for firewood. We found their heads hanging from trees, arranged like Christmas decorations. Their bodies were never found." The distinctive sound of war had changed. It was no longer Soviet artillery, but the whisper of skis on snow, the crash of Molotov cocktails, the screams of men burning in tanks. Italian war correspondent Indro Montanelli reported, "I saw the mighty Red Army reduced to frozen beggars, begging for a quick death. I saw tanks abandoned because their crews would rather freeze than burn. I saw what was left of an entire division, 400 men out of 15,000, all without fingers or toes, some without noses or ears, marching like the living dead back to Russia. The Winter War revealed a fundamental truth about asymmetric conflict. Conventional military experience can be a disadvantage against a determined, unconventional opponent. German General Franz Halder, looking at the Wehrmacht, wrote, "The Finns proved that numerical and technological superiority are irrelevant without adaptation to the terrain and the enemy. Each Finnish soldier was worth 10 Soviets, not because they were supermen, but because they fought on their terms, their terrain, their climate." The Finnish philosophy was simple: sisu, an untranslatable Finnish word that combines determination, courage, and resilience beyond reason. Mannerheim articulo. We don't win battles, we survive them. Every day Finland remains free is a victory. Every Soviet soldier who doesn't return home is an argument against tyranny. On the Soviet side, the humiliation forced profound reforms. General Georgy Zhukov, studying the disaster, concluded, "We learned that veterans of past wars can be novices in the present war." The Finns had no formal military experience, but they had something more valuable: absolute purpose and complete knowledge of their environment. The lesson transcended the military. It was about David and Goliath, about freedom versus oppression, about how determination can overcome odds. Churchill observed, "Finland has shown the world that the Soviet bear can bleed. More importantly, it has shown that free citizens defending their homes are worth more than armies of slaves following orders." But there was a cost. Captain Laurie Turney, who would fight in 3 different armies during his lifetime, reflected, "We turned farmers into killing machines. Men who had never taken human life killed dozens, hundreds. Yes, we saved Finland, but we lost our innocence. Every Finnish veteran carries Soviet ghosts for the rest of his life." March 13th, 1940. Moscow. The Moscow Peace Treaty is signed. Finland cedes 11% of its territory, but maintains its independence. In the same room where Voroshilov had toasted the easiest victory in history, Stalin now surveyed the maps with cold fury. "How many?" he asks simply. Stalin's chambers. "How many of our men per square kilometer of Finnish land?" Voroshilov says, "Approximately 1,000 dead per square kilometer conquered." Stalin walks to the window looking out over Red Square. 1,000 dead veterans per kilometer. Killed by whom, Voroshilov? By professionals? By Prussians? By samurai? For Finnish civilians, comrade. Exactly. We sent wolves, and they were killed by sheep with teeth. Helsinki, same day. Simo Haiha, still recovering from his facial wound, is promoted from corporal directly to lieutenant, an unprecedented leap. Asked how he felt about killing 700 men, he replied, "I didn't kill men. I eliminated invaders. Every shot saved Finnish lives. I'm not a hero. I'm a farmer who learned that sometimes the scythe must become the sword." Berlin, Reich Chancellery. Hitler studies the Winter War reports with his generals. "Mein Führer," General Halder observes, "if Finnish farmers can cause such damage to the Red Army." "Yes," Hitler interrupts, eyes shining with fatal ambition. "Imagine what the Wehrmacht can do. The Russians are weak. Finland proved that." A fatal decision. Operation Barbarossa would be launched based in part on the Soviet weakness revealed in Finland. Hitler failed to understand that the Soviets were strong against conventional Germans, weak against unconventional Finns. Soviet and Finnish veterans meet in Helsinki, 1989. Viktor Kozlov, now 78, the soldier who laughed at the pathetic woods, sits next to Antti Rokka, 82, the lumberjack-turned-soldier. "You know," Kozlov says, vodka in his trembling hand, "you taught us humility. We thought military experience meant guaranteed victory. Rocker replies, aquavit in his own calloused hand. And you taught us that sometimes you have to become a monster to stop a monster. We weren't soldiers. We were desperate men with skis and bottles of gasoline. But they won. No, we survived. There is a difference. Kozlov is silent then. You know what hurt the most. It wasn't dying. It was dying knowing that amateurs had outdone us, that our experience, our medals, our training, all useless against men defending their homes. Do you want to know the secret? A voice interrupts. It's Simo Häyhä, 84 years old, his face deformed by the Soviet bullet, but his eyes still sharp as an eagle's. The secret is that there was no secret. You fought because you were ordered to. We fought because we had no choice. You could retreat to Russia. We could only retreat to the sea. Desperation is the best teacher of war. Winter War Museum, Helsinki, 2020. A sign at the entrance sums it all up. Between November 1939 and March 1940, 32,000 Finnish soldiers, most with no formal military experience, faced 750,000 Soviet veterans, outnumbered 25.1 in men, 100.1 in tanks, 30.1 in aircraft. The Finns inflicted 391,000 enemy casualties while suffering 70,000. They proved that determination trumps experience, that homeland is worth more than numbers, that free men fight better than serfs. In November 1939, Marshal Voroshilov laughed, peasants with hunting rifles against veterans of the Red Army. In March 1940, no one laughed. 200,000 Soviet veterans lay dead or maimed in the Finnish forests, victims of amateurs who turned inexperience into unpredictability, weakness into mobility, desperation into determination. They laughed when they heard that farmers would face professional soldiers. They stopped laughing when farmers turned forests into cemeteries. They stopped laughing when the army of amateurs humiliated the second largest military force in the world. The Winter War proved an eternal truth. Military experience without purpose is inferior to inexperience with a just cause. Veterans who fight for orders die to rookies who fight for survival. The Soviets had experience, numbers, technology. The Finns had sisu, home, and the will to transform every tree into a fortress, every snowflake into an ally, every bottle of vodka into a weapon. Winter spoke in Finnish, and the Red Army learned to fear the whisper of skis on snow.